Mega yachts, helicopters, and private jets. The transportation of the wealthiest. There's a popular belief that mega yachts, helicopters, and private jets are merely symbols of ostentation. Curious, isn't it? Because when you look closely, this idea begins to crumble. The truth is almost counterintuitive. The wealthiest don't buy luxury to show off. They buy it to disappear from the chaos. While most people chase comfort, they chase control. And perhaps that's exactly why they always remain a few steps ahead. Many people feel like they're constantly putting out fires, stuck in queues, delays, other people's decisions, and constant noise. This is exhausting, drains energy, and undermines mental clarity. The elite understood early on that you can't build great things with a fragmented mind. That's why they invest heavily in environments, routines, and commutes that protect their focus. It's not just about going faster, it's about arriving whole, with a clear head and sharp reasoning. And here's the most provocative point. You don't need to be a billionaire to learn from this logic. The principles behind this type of mobility can be applied to any lifestyle. Throughout this content, you'll realize that the transportation choices of the wealthy reveal something much bigger, a specific way of thinking, deciding, and living. And when that becomes clear, some choices that previously seemed distant begin to make much more sense. The mindset behind luxury mobility. From the outside, it might seem exaggerated, but behind the scenes, luxury mobility stems from a very pragmatic logic. For the wealthiest, time isn't a metaphor, it's a strategic asset. Every journey needs to be predictable, silent, and under control. While most people organize their lives around schedules, they organize their schedules around their lives. That's where the choice of mega yachts, helicopters, and private jets comes in. Not as empty ostentation, but as a decision-making tool. And interestingly, this mentality begins long before the first billion. There's a strong belief guiding this elite. Whoever controls their own movement controls their own mental rhythm. Imagine someone leaving a critical meeting and within minutes, already in another country, without cues, delays, or external noise. This reduces emotional friction and preserves clarity of thought. A simple example. Many of these individuals avoid commercial flights not for comfort, but because they want to arrive thinking, not reacting. It's the same principle as waking up early to plan the day, only on an extreme scale. Ultimately, luxury mobility is an extension of the autonomy mindset. Just as some invest in private education, exclusive mentors, or controlled environments, others invest in their own means of transportation. It all follows the same invisible thread, eliminating unnecessary variables. And it's curious to see how this logic repeats itself in small everyday decisions, from choosing where to live to deciding who to be in a relationship with. This way of thinking paves the way for something even bigger, which begins to materialize when transportation ceases to be just commuting and becomes territory. How mega yachts became floating extensions of personal empires. For those who live at that level, a mega yacht isn't just a boat, it's territory. There, deals are closed without interruption, strategic decisions mature in silence, and relationships are built away from prying eyes. The sea offers something rare, isolation with movement. While everything seems like leisure on the outside, inside there's a precise mechanism at work. Many of these yachts are designed to operate as true floating offices, with meeting rooms, encrypted communication systems, and teams trained not to interfere with the owner's mental flow. There's a little discussed detail. Yachting creates a specific psychological state. Away from urban pressure, the brain slows down, but the vision expands. It's common for top business executives to use this environment to reflect on decisions that can't be made in the heat of the moment. A practical example? Many take only strategic books, biographies, or key reports on these trips, eliminating digital distractions. The luxury here isn't in the marble or gold, but in the mental space created by the absence of noise. Another essential point is the silent symbolism. A mega yacht communicates power without needing to announce anything. It doesn't compete for attention. It simply exists. This type of presence shapes negotiations, alliances, and even how the owner sees himself. Curiously, this logic is repeated in smaller choices. Organized environments, clean schedules, few well-chosen meetings. And when the sea ceases to be enough, the need arises to cover distances even faster. And that's where another piece of this game comes in. Private helicopters, the art of beating the clock. The private helicopter emerges when time starts to matter more than comfort. For this elite, traffic is not just an inconvenience. It's an invisible thief of mental energy. While many calculate routes, they simply fly over obstacles. The helicopter shortens distances that, on the ground, seem harmless, but which, added up over the course of the week, drain focus and clarity. It's a silent choice that reveals something profound: the obsession with keeping the day flowing without unnecessary interruptions. There's also a little discussed emotional factor. Arriving by helicopter changes the internal state of those who arrive. There's no rush, no accumulated tension, no feeling of, "I'm late for my own life." Many executives use this short trip to mentally review decisions, listen to strategic audio recordings, or simply be in silence. It's similar to someone walking before a difficult conversation to organize their thoughts. Except here, the sky becomes a transitional corridor between one role and another. In practice, the helicopter doesn't replace everything. It connects critical points of the day: home, office, airport, yacht. It's an intermediary piece that keeps the pace high without chaos. Interestingly, this principle can be applied on a smaller scale, eliminating intermediate tasks, grouping appointments, reducing mental displacement. When you understand this, it becomes clear that the helicopter is less about luxury and more about continuity. And when the distance ceases to be short and the horizon expands, the next step becomes inevitable. Private jets: freedom, status, and power above the clouds. The private jet represents the point where mobility becomes sovereignty. It's not just about flying, but about deciding when, how, and where, without asking permission from the world. For the wealthy, commercial airports are emotional bottlenecks: queues, delays, noise, and decisions made by others. On a private jet, time is once again in control. The schedule doesn't fit the flight fits the schedule. And this inversion completely changes how one perceives distance, opportunity, and urgency. There's something almost invisible happening in there. While many see wide armchairs and elegant glasses, the owner sees a continuity of reasoning. It's common to use the flight to study confidential reports, read strategic books, or talk to partners without censorship. Some always keep specific readings on board: biographies of great leaders, books like Think and Grow Rich, or market analyses, because they know that the sky is one of the few places where nobody interrupts them. Status exists, of course, but it's a consequence, not the main motivation. The true power of the jet lies in the emotional predictability it offers. Arriving rested, focused, and mentally whole is worth more than any external symbol. Interestingly, this logic also appears in smaller choices: sleeping well before important decisions, reducing unnecessary commitments, protecting key schedules. When you understand this, it becomes clear that the jet is only the visible tip of something bigger, an entire system operating behind the scenes. The secret ecosystem that underpins the mobility of billionaires. Few people realize it, but behind every mega yacht, helicopter, or private jet lies a silent machine operating 24/7. Pilots, engineers, captains, maintenance teams, and route managers form an invisible ecosystem that ensures everything is ready before the owner even thinks about leaving. For billionaires, this isn't excessive luxury. It's predictability. They buy operational peace of mind to keep their minds focused on what truly matters. This system functions almost like a parallel company. There are rigorous checklists, contingency plans, and protocols for any unforeseen event. A curious example: many owners never ask if the aircraft is ready. They know it will be. This confidence doesn't arise by chance, but from well-defined processes. It's the same principle that can be applied on a personal scale, creating routines, automating simple decisions, and eliminating repetitive choices that drain mental energy throughout the day. The most interesting thing is that this ecosystem protects something intangible: the owner's emotional state. When everything works smoothly, the mind remains stable. There are no surprises, no accumulated frustration. This logic repeats itself in organized environments, well-designed schedules, and aligned teams. And the more complex the system, the more evident a little-discussed detail becomes. Keeping all this in motion has a price that goes far beyond money: the invisible cost of speed, logistics, staff, and maintenance. When discussing luxury mobility, the common focus is on the purchase price. But for those who live at this level, the true cost lies in maintaining the pace. Fuel, hangar edge, dedicated crew, constant maintenance, and insurance form a structure that never sleeps. This continuous expense is not seen as waste, but as an investment in fluidity. After all, what really matters is not paying a high price, but losing time due to lack of preparation. There is also a carefully managed human cost. Well-rested pilots, experienced captains, and well-paid crews are not details. They are pillars. Many billionaires understand that exhausted people make poor decisions. Therefore, they invest in balanced schedules, frequent training, and even psychological support for their teams. On a smaller scale, this teaches something valuable. Taking care of those who sustain your routine is an indirect way of taking care of your own performance. Interestingly, this invisible cost reveals a mature mindset about wealth. It's not about spending less, but about spending better. Keeping everything running smoothly requires discipline, planning, and respect for the process. The same logic applies to personal finances, health, and career. Neglecting maintenance always takes its toll later. And it is precisely this awareness that separates those who maintain a high standard of living from those who only reach a momentary peak, something that begins to become clear when observing how the elite make strategic choices. Why do the elite invest in their own transportation instead of relying on premium services? At first glance, premium services seem sufficient. First class, VIP lounges, 24-hour concierge. It all sounds comfortable. But the elite think differently. Comfort without control is still dependency. When a flight is delayed, when a route changes, when an external decision interferes, the cost is not financial, it's mental. Investing in private transportation eliminates intermediaries and restores sovereignty over time. It's a silent choice that prioritizes predictability over apparent convenience. There's a simple principle guiding this decision: those who decide less execute better. When relying on services, even the best ones, a person needs to adapt to rules they didn't create. With personal transportation, the scenario is reversed. A clear example is scheduling. Meetings are scheduled based on personal rhythm, not on the system's available time. On a smaller scale, this translates into choices like working in focus blocks, avoiding unnecessary meetings, and protecting high-energy periods. Another point that is rarely discussed is confidentiality. Strategic conversations, sensitive decisions, and moments of reflection require safe environments. Personal transportation becomes a transitional space between roles, where the mind reorganizes itself without external surveillance. This logic applies to anyone who wants to evolve, creating environments where clear thinking is possible. And when this pattern is observed more closely, an even deeper question arises. What does all this reveal about the psychological side of those who choose this path? The psychological side. What these modes of transport reveal about desire, control, and security. Ultimately, mega yachts, helicopters, and private jets say less about money and more about psychology. They reveal a deep desire for emotional control in an unpredictable world. For this elite, security is not just physical, it's mental. Knowing that nothing will go wrong reduces anxiety and preserves inner energy. When the environment is predictable, the mind relaxes and can think long-term, something most people lose in the daily chaos. There is also a powerful symbolic component. These means of transportation function as invisible boundaries between the external world and the individual's internal space. By crossing this boundary, the person changes their mental state. It's similar to closing the front door after a difficult day and feeling the body slow down. Many use these moments to reflect, listen to specific music, practice silence, or even mentally review important decisions. Small practices that keep the mind sharp. What's most curious is realizing how this pattern can be replicated without billions. Creating transition, rituals, protecting moments of silence, and reducing excessive stimuli generates the same psychological effect. Those who understand this stop seeking only external results and begin to build internal security. And when this awareness expands, a question about the future naturally arises. Where is this pursuit of control and efficiency leading the next generation of the elite? The future frontier, green super yachts, supersonic aircraft, and electric helicopters. The future of luxury mobility has already begun, but far from the spotlight. The new elite doesn't just want to go faster, they want to go better. Hybrid super yachts, jets with sustainable fuels, and electric helicopters are emerging as a response to a silent pressure. Efficiency without guilt. For these decision-makers, innovation isn't a fad, it's long-term protection. Those who anticipate change reduce risks and preserve reputation, two assets that don't appear on the balance sheet but carry significant weight. There's also the return of a bold idea, private supersonic flight. Not for the spectacle, but for the radical compression of time. Crossing continents in hours changes the logic of global business. Executives envision same-day face-to-face meetings, more human decisions, and less screen-mediated intervention. In parallel, electrical technologies promise silence and precision. It's like swapping a noisy clock for a discrete digital one. The gain isn't just technical, it's psychological. Ultimately, this boundary points to a recurring pattern. Those who lead think decades ahead. Technology becomes an ally of the mind, not a distraction. This same principle can be applied today, on a small scale, by choosing tools that simplify routines and reduce friction. When this movement is observed carefully, it becomes clear that mobility has always been just a means. What really matters is how all this connects to the way we live, decide, and build our own path. What the transportation of the wealthy really teaches us. After all this, a sincere question remains: what are you going to do with this knowledge? Because in the end, mega yachts, helicopters, and private jets were never just about money. They are a consequence of a mindset that prioritizes time, focus, and mental energy above all else. The big provocation here is simple, but powerful. How many decisions in your day are still being made automatically, without you realizing the invisible cost of it? Perhaps you can't choose a private jet today, but you can better choose your routine, your schedule, your priorities, and even the people around you. Where do you still accept unnecessary delays? Where do you surrender your time to systems that don't respect your pace? Thinking like the elite begins when you start treating your mind as a valuable asset, not as something that can be exploited without limits. Now tell me, what would change in your life if you started protecting your time like the wealthiest people do? What small decision can you make today to gain more clarity, more control, and more direction? If this content made you reflect, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and continue this journey with us. Here, the goal isn't just to showcase luxury, it's to teach the mindset behind it.